my thing. Not looking back, I can see that now. And I can't speak for the others. I don't know what their thing is, but I had the feeling, always had the feeling that this is a huge group of people. Let's say huge. I mean, not huge by comparison to some other yogis, but it's a big group of people, 35 or 50 people, and they all have this hang-up about saving the world. Okay, and so this guy's playing up to all of this thing, So he was building companies and making organizations, and in the beginning, of course, it struck me as kind of odd. One of the names of the groups is Divine Mission, and when the first few times I heard the name Divine Mission, I'm like, Divine Mission? It sounded like a joke to me, okay? But in all seriousness, I mean, this is the point. He took it absolutely seriously. Now, you have to understand that this person is playing a part for everyone, and nobody knows who he is, or what he really thinks, or whether he thinks, or what's really going on under the skin of this man. You just don't know. But they all think they do, okay? Everybody thinks they know what's going on, including me. And whatever a person had as an ego identification, he would play up to that, okay? And it used to drive me crazy, for instance, that... Now, I didn't spend a lot of time with him. There were some of the people who spent a lot of time with him, and that was also part of the device, okay? There would be like insiders and outsiders, okay? There would be people that he would keep near him almost 24 hours a day, seemingly, so that, I mean, you can't really say that it was his intention for anybody to feel bad, but to draw out envy and jealousy in a group of people, he would play these games. He would keep certain people near and other people at a distance, and so a lot of stuff happened around that. And he would tell stories about people, and everybody took everything really seriously, okay? And so did I. But there were times when little glimmers of light would shine through, and you would know, or I knew, that this cannot possibly be real. You just can't take this serious. You just can't take this at face value. But another part of me always did, okay? So, okay, one example. Now, you have to know that this is a person, the person who's sitting in front of you, the shell of this person, this personality. I always wanted to please everyone, and it's like I never went it for my own thing. Like, what am I interested in? What do I want to do? What's my game, or what's my game plan? No, I was like, I found this group, and I got into this group, and it's like, whatever you guys are interested, that's what I'm interested in too. And so their thing was this book, this Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, okay? So in that case, then I have to be the best person at Bhagavad Gita, right? So I have to learn how to recite it without looking at the book, and I have to, do all this stuff. Well, I started doing this thing of reading it every day, and then there's a practice that you write it every day. So I started writing it, okay? And then when you write it, you give it to him, because like as a gift, this is what they call sadhana, or spiritual practice. So I was writing it, and I'm a person who finds fault with everything, okay? So these people had produced this book. He had translated it, and it was full of errors, of course, because people make mistakes. So I would spend hours poring over this thing every morning, because that was part of the practice, part of the spiritual journey, was to read this book every day, 700 verses. Okay, you can do it in a couple hours. So I would sit there and I would find all of the punctuation and spelling and missed words and whatever, and I would write this list every day of all the mistakes I was finding and take it to this woman and put it in her door. Now, this is part of my desperate action to endear myself to this person, okay? So, at some point, I really started to get into it. You know, the act of reading and writing this book kind of took over my personality, and I started to disappear and the book started to come towards the front. So I'm reading this book and I'm writing it, and a certain part of me starts to take over because I am a poet in some way. So I'm writing, or that's what I think of myself, but really there's a poet in me. So this poet in me takes over and is engaged by this spiritual book, and I'm starting to write it, and every day, and I wrote and rewrote and rewrote, and I would sit on a passage and I would just mull it over in my mind for 10-20 minutes each verse, until I found the way that I thought that it would sound flowing and smooth and somehow harmonious, until a certain harmony came. And then I would write it. So I didn't write it the way he had written it, but I wrote it the way I felt it, okay? I gave the book to him, and I don't know if it was even a day later, he came to me and he said, "This is the first time that I've ever read the Bhagavad Gita written by someone at one sitting." And he was sincere, okay? But this is how this thing goes. And I was like kind of nonchalant, well, yeah, okay, because I don't know what that means. You know, I don't know this person, and I just did what I did because I felt like doing that. I felt like writing it that way. So there's a woman in his group. She's been with him probably the longest of anyone, of any of the Western people. And she's the person that whose door was getting every day stuffed with notes full of these errors that I was finding in the manuscript. Okay? And I'm not thinking that that person's gonna get hot and bothered by somebody finding all mistakes in their work. Why should they? You know, I'm not thinking about this, that this person's also human. I'm just thinking, because it's my nature to look for mistakes everywhere, okay? And bitch about them everywhere, okay? So, or, you know, point out that I found these mistakes, you know, that makes me somehow good, right? Everybody wants you to find their mistakes, right? Right? You want everyone to find all your mistakes, right? You do, don't you? Okay, so this woman, and let's just name names, okay? I mean, I'm tired of playing these games. Soumya is in the office, in the little office. At that time, there was a little office behind the kitchen. And I was in there, and Swamiji came in, and he started praising my interpretation of his Gita, and he told Soumya that we're going to print it. And she started screaming, no, screaming like crazy. No. Okay, I held this against her for years, okay, because I thought, well, that's just, you know, how could she go against the word of the master, okay? As it turns out, I'm really glad she did that, okay? Because I just can't imagine what would have happened if they had printed my version of the Gita. I mean,